What do they know? I'm joined by Congressman Ted Lieu, as well as conservative Max Boot, who's worked for several Republican presidential candidates, as well as former federal prosecutor Joyce Vance. Congressman, I go to you. I don't recall your colleague in the Senate, Mark Warner, ever giving a speech on the Russia probe like the one he just gave about an hour ago. What is your view of it, and why now? What does he or others, what do they know?
Well, Senator Warner, I commend him for making that speech. He's seeing the same thing that we are seeing here, which is a concerted effort by the president's allies to try to smear Robert Mueller. And it goes from Kellyanne Conway down to Republicans in Congress to conservative media. And first of all, it is damaging to our democracy. It's also factually false. There are three leaders of the special counsel's investigation: Rod Rosenstein, Robert Mueller, and FBI Director Christopher Wray. They're all Republicans, and by the way, Christopher Wray gave $39,000 in campaign contributions exclusively to Republicans. So this is not some sort of Democratic special counsel investigation.
But Congressman, you're pointing to all of these public attacks. Some of them may be unseemly. They may unnecessarily to give kind of a decay or an erosion of public faith in our nonpartisan institutions. But I want to be clear. People have the right to make those attacks. There is no right, as you know, to try to use removal of a prosecutor to stop a lawful investigation. They don't have the right to do that. Is this just more noise, or is Senator Warner and Eric Holder and all these people we see speaking out right now responding to some sense, rumor, or indication that we are on the precipice of something?
So there are rumors, but I can't corroborate those rumors. But keep in mind, the special counsel is getting closer. And Robert Mueller would not have done a plea deal with Michael Flynn to get people under Michael Flynn. They would have gone and done a plea deal to get people above Michael Flynn. There's only a handful of people above Michael Flynn, and some of them are in the White House.
Max, I want to play for you much of what we've been hearing in conservative media.
The special counsel of Robert Mueller's entire investigation, we now know tonight, is one giant cesspool. It's full of corruption, partisanship, and unbridled bias.
The fix was in against Donald Trump from the beginning, and they were pro-Hillary. They can't possibly be seen as objective or transparent or even-handed or fair.
Right now, this investigation he's heading has become irreparably tainted.
The investigation was weaponized to destroy his presidency for partisan political purposes. Now, if that's true, we have a coup on our hands in America.
Well, Ari, let me read you a summary, the best summary I've seen of what's going on here. There is something profoundly demeaning and destructive to have the White House systematically undermine an officer of the Justice Department. And when I watch these paid hacks on television, to be quite honest, I am sickened by how unpatriotically they undermine the Constitution of the United States on behalf of their client. Now, that was, guess who that was? That was Newt Gingrich speaking in 1998, defending Ken Starr from attacks from Democratic partisans. And now Newt Gingrich and everybody else on the right is doing exactly what they attacked in the 1990s. And it's just as disgusting now as it was then, because it's just so offensive and specious to suggest that Robert Mueller, this American hero, a man who served his country in Vietnam and a lifelong prosecutor who doesn't have a partisan bone in his body, is somehow guilty of a coup against Donald Trump, that he's some kind of partisan zealot. I mean, it's so far removed from the truth that the fact that so many Republicans are saying these things is just a sign of how worried they are that, in fact, Mueller is getting close to Donald Trump.
And Joyce, as a former federal prosecutor, you understand how many lines are being crossed just in that rhetoric. I wonder what you thought of Senator Warner's speech here. Again, honestly, I don't want to sound rude or judgmental, but the thing you hear most about Senator Warner on these issues the last several months is that he is overly careful, that he prefers to do briefings with the Republican on the committee. He is not known, I just want to be clear, for sounding off. And meanwhile, you have the Washington Post reporting that Trump, according to White House advisor, enjoys these attacks on Mueller. In recent weeks, he's spoken to a number of Fox News hosts, Republican lawmakers, and others castigating Mueller's team, the advisor said. Joyce.
Senator Warner is well known for his restraint, and so the fact that he came forward and made this speech on the floor of the Senate is very unusual. He said that it would be a red line if Mueller were fired or if pardons were issued for witnesses in the Russia probe, because they had uncovered so much evidence of linkages between the campaign and Russia. What I think is heart-wrenching for many people on the Hill and many people who've worked in the Justice Department is watching this ping-pong game-like repartee that's going on beyond some people on the media, some supporters of the president, with people, the real people in this country who've never worked in the Justice Department or on the Hill, watching the back and forth and unsure, can they trust Bob Mueller? You know, has that become a politicized investigation? And what comes through is people like Warner, known for his restraint, or career prosecutors, career DOJ employees, even the Newt Gingriches of the world, who when Mueller was selected, came forward and said, this is someone whose integrity we can trust. And nothing has really changed our ability to trust that integrity. That's why Senator Warner's speech is important. It's a good bookend with the op-ed written by former Acting Attorney General Sally Yates earlier this week, where she said we live in a time where we can't admire the core values of our democracy from afar. We all have to be prepared to engage and do what's right.
Congressman Lieu, Senator Warner clearly drawing this line here before you all leave town. But you are still leaving town. If there is, in your view, some action to undermine the investigation or to do something that, in your view, involves obstruction, what are you going to do? Are you going to come home, leave home early to come back to Washington, or what?
Ari, you're going to take to the streets. I believe the American people see that Robert Mueller is going to be fired. They're going to take the streets. And keep in mind, Donald Trump can't actually fire Robert Mueller.
Right.
He's got to fire Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and then put someone else in his place to fire Robert Mueller. Well, that's exactly what Nixon did.
You're referring to one path. I mean, the rules require that there is a finding of good cause, so either the person in charge, which is right now Rosenstein, has to find that, or you need to put someone in place who's willing to find that, and then that itself could become a legal controversy. Your point being that you don't think today, based on Rosenstein's public comments, he's anywhere near going along with that kind of plot.
Not only that, but Rosenstein said under oath before the House Judiciary Committee that there is no good cause to fire Robert Mueller and that he would not do it.
And what would you do if Rosenstein were removed? Would you try to call him before the Congress? I mean, people maybe 2 hours ago weren't going there. You have Mark Warner out tonight on the floor saying this. People are starting to wonder what's next if this were to happen.
We would take to the streets. We would try to impeach Donald Trump. And look, if he wants to follow in the footsteps of Richard Nixon, he's welcome to try, but it will not end well for him.
Max Boot.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. And my concern here is that, yeah, I'm glad that Senator Warner is speaking out. My concern is, where are the Republicans? Why aren't the Republicans speaking out in similar fashion? Because this should not be a partisan issue. The United States was attacked last year. The Russians sought to undermine our election, and we need to get to the bottom of it. And Republicans ought to be just as concerned about it as Democrats.
I mean, 2 points on that, and then a final word from Joyce. One is, where are the Republicans? One of them, Congressman Gates, who's been pushing against Mueller, is going to be on the beat tonight. We're going to depose him live, and Max Boot, you're going to be here for some fact-checking as well, involved in that. And two, we're going to hear also, after the break, from some of the Republicans who had what can only be described as slavish praise for their leader, Donald Trump, in an unusual event at the White House. Joyce Vance, what do you think the career men and women of the DOJ, where you served as a nonpartisan prosecutor for so long, well, what are they thinking right now tonight?
Everyone who works for the Justice Department takes an oath to uphold the Constitution when they enter their tour of duty at the Justice Department. My expectation is that the career folks at the Justice Department will uphold that oath, that people like Rod Rosenstein and others will do the best that they can to continue that strong tradition and make sure that we see justice done in this investigation like they have over the years.
Congressman Lieu, who I think made a little bit of news of his own tonight, very interesting in your response to Senator Warner, and maybe we'll all have a peaceful, quiet holiday. That's perfectly nice. If not, if there is news, I feel like I might end up working, so we might end up calling you if there is news. Joyce Vance, thank you as always for your expertise. Max Boot, as promised, is on later in the hour.